All right, Coach. The first game we have to get to was the one that the two of us were both at. Point Borough welcoming Manasquan, Al Sainer Field. Before we even get to the breakdown of the game, big win for Point Borough. How about the atmosphere there? I mean, that's going to be tough to beat for the rest of the year. That was an incredible atmosphere.
Somebody was saying it was 8,000 people. And that's a lot of people. I wouldn't doubt it.
The stands were mobbed. Their fans ringed around the fence of the whole field. But, I mean, the Panther Pit, that Point Borough cheering student section, they were roaring for the whole game. They had great chants. And, I mean, you want to talk about sideline energy? The Point Borough coaching staff, it's like they have like 7 strength and conditioning coaches that you see in college going crazy. It's like they're all like that.
When you talk to them, you have to stay away because they hug you, they punch you in the arm. They are so into it, man. There was so much excitement on the sidelines, stands, sidelines with coaches, and most importantly, the players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, clearly this is one that Point Borough I've been waiting for a full year.
Oh,
they lost to Manasquan last year, but they clearly get their revenge. 39-13. Matt Oliphant, their quarterback, just went berserk. 228, 29 yards, 4 touchdowns. They ran for over 360 on the ground overall. I thought the most impressive thing to me was by the end, they weren't even being cued or anything in the triple option. They were just running QB lead right off the center and breaking it for big gains.
Yeah, they did. And Shane O'Connor did a great job stopping Brett Patton and Jameer Howard on the other side. You could tell that Point Borough had a game under their belt and Manasquan didn't. They were kind of hurting a little bit with cramping. It was kind of affecting them. But, yeah, they did well defensively. Offensively, their line's a machine led by Cole Skinner. They did a really nice job. It was very impressive. They have a quarterback that can go 70 yards. That's the big difference.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, normally that QB lead play is designed to get, 4 yards at a time, move the chains, kind of pound it up the middle. But Oliphant is such a good athlete that if he gets to the second level and bounces it outside the linebacker, he might take it all the way to the house, which he did on a couple huge runs. I mean, he was unbelievable. But, yeah, the interior of their line really dominated.
They do a great job getting their ball carriers in second level before they're touched. Oliphant, I didn't realize how big he is. He's a big quarterback.
Yeah.
A big quarterback.
But I mean, they were getting Salento out to the perimeter, so you had to loosen the defense up a little bit, and that's the option. You try to take that away. Now they're coming right up the middle at you. And you also had Croce, the big fullback, leading the way. He had a few nice carries. So yeah, they were. But the interesting thing I found was after the game, we were talking to Brian Staub, their head coach, and Ryan Canary, the offensive line coach, kind of how great of a game by their line. And the first person they both bring up is their defensive coordinator, Shane O'Connor, saying, no, the real story was us slowing down Patton and Jameer Howard, that the fact that we were able to bottle up one of the best quarterbacks in the short conference to them was the bigger story.
Yeah, without a doubt. They did a great job all phases of the game.
Like you said, I think Manasquan not having had a game before that point hurt them because the cramping and the stuff that we talked about last week, they hadn't gone through all that. And, I mean, Brett Patton threw a perfect pass on their first play from scrimmage in the game to Jameer Howard down the sideline right near the goal line.
He was hurting after it.
Yeah, he runs down, loses his lunch right there, then does it again. And then for the rest of the game was cramping. And I mean, you don't know if he could have been sick and trying to play through it. But yeah, he felt it seemed like he was definitely struggling with that, like almost the whole game. And the fact that, the Point Borough pass rush was chasing them around out there for a lot of that game. Aiden Ward, Connor Reynolds. I know that the sophomore Slade Sammartino had a sack. So I think they made them one-dimensional. Manasquan never really seemed to get the run game going, and it allowed Point Borough to kind of send everyone at Patton. But I will say Howard is a real player. Even in a couple of big plays there, the burst that he has, he's a real weapon for Manasquan. I think the biggest thing with them is, getting their line together, getting on the same page, getting the running game a little more established like they have in the past, because I think they were a little undersized. I mean, Point Borough had the size advantage.
Yeah, but I'm not down on Manasquan because good teams make you look like that. They played away first game. They're playing a team that probably is the favorite to win the South Jersey Group 2 state championship. So there was a lot of good football players and good football on that field. So I'll leave it at that. They 1-1. They split after two years. But who knows? Maybe they'll meet up again. Maybe they will meet up again.
Yeah, could certainly happen. And I mean, one thing's for sure, the atmosphere will be amazing. That definitely was one of the most exciting crowds, and you were even sampling the pulled pork sandwich. You got the full experience.
They treated me well. Speaking of meeting again, there was a game up in Monmouth County. Middletown South, the number 3 ranked team, played number 5 ranked Manalapan, 17-14. They're both Group 4. They both could play in the playoffs. They gave the fans a playoff game right there. Coming back at the end, Donovan Sumney with a swing pass, 8-yard touchdown with 32 seconds left. Middletown South does it again in a comeback win.
Yeah, what are we gonna call them? The EKG Eagles. That's 2 heart stoppers in a row for them. They get down at halftime, they get down late in the game, but they, to their credit, their quarterback and Summy and Wakil, they have all found a way late in games to make huge plays at the biggest junctures of the game. And more importantly, the defense has kept them close and kept them in it and allowed the offense to rally in the second half. And that was a particularly emotional night because Manalapan retired the jersey of their former star, Kyle Mullen, who I remember covering his career. Amazing player, great two-way player, just a great kid. Amazing student. He played at Yale and then at Monmouth University. He died tragically while in Hell Week training with the Navy SEALs. So, there was a lot of emotion in that game. And for Middletown South to overcome Manalapan on a night like that shows even more, what's inside that team, that they don't get down for anything. And, even a tough atmosphere on the road on a solemn night, they were able to find a way.
I told you last week, Jake Zawackel, field goal. A field goal. People look at him as a field goal kicker. He's not. He's an athlete. He's a quarterback. He's a safety, a cornerback. He does it all. He was our player of the week in the division, and he had a great game. And Colin Gallagher is one of the toughest football players that as a linebacker.
16 tackles, 3 sacks. You got to feel like it's still early, but when we're already starting the conversation of defensive player of the year in the short conference, he has to be right near the front.
Got to be. It's got to be with that. But Manalapan, can't rule them out. Anthony Macchio, another return on special teams.
Unbelievable. 88-yard kick. And that was just after South had taken their first lead. And you think, oh, gosh, we're in trouble. What happens? Picks up the kickoff and goes 88 yards. I mean, again, their special teams continues to be unbelievable.
So that's the game that nobody should have lost. But Manalapan came out of that game with a loss against a good Middletown South team who's got a big game next week. We'll talk about.
Yeah, that American division, it doesn't stop. You can't sit there and pat yourself on the back when you had a big win because you just have one more top 10 team after another coming right at you. It's like, the second you start thinking, oh, we're 2-0, things are going great. I mean, you could be 2-5 or something in 2 seconds in that division because it's just so relentless.
And Red Bank Catholic won 25-3. The number 1 ranked team played number 9 Wall. We didn't know what to make out of Wall, and I think Wall proved that they're going to be better than people think they're going to be this year. And they were pretty tough against Red Bank Catholic for the whole game. Red Bank Catholic's good, but it was a game. It was actually a game.
Yeah, I mean, and it was pretty close at halftime. I mean, RBC's defense has been pretty dominant so far. I mean, the only points they allowed were after they had the backups in against St. John Vianney in the season opener. So, as far as touchdown is concerned, I mean, they allowed 3 points in this game. So they've been incredible. Frankie Williams continued to do his thing. Very efficient, 11 of 17, 2 touchdown passes. Their star receivers, Najee Rahman and Emmanuel Ross, who visited Clemson this weekend.
Yeah.
So you'll see the kind of level of offers he's getting. I mean, if you're getting offered from Clemson, that means every program in the country is
without a doubt.
After you.
Yeah, they don't even need to use them yet. So, I mean, I don't know right now if they're double covering them or they're just passing the ball around to other people, but they have weapons that are ready to go at any time. You got Portella, Harmon, Ross, Rahman. I mean, and then they got the tight ends, 2 tight ends that are really good too. They got a great arsenal of players. They really do.
Right.
And don't forget Stolfer.
And they've definitely looked like a complete team so far. And yeah, they have another big one coming up. Because that American division, like we said, it's just one Bulldog team after another. Speaking of the Bulldogs, Donovan Catholic beat Rumson and blanked them. You know, Rumson's starting out in an 0-2 hole, which is pretty rare for them. Although, again, they've lost to two of the top 2 or 3 teams in the Shore Conference in Toms River North and Donovan Catholic. But, you know, you talk about another defense that has just been utterly dominant. Donovan Catholic held Rumson to negative total yardage in the first half, which is incredible.
Yes.
So Donovan, to me, I mean, you can't make any real bold predictions in this American division because anybody can get picked off, but it feels like maybe Donovan RBC on this massive collision course, but Middletown South clearly is going to have a lot to say about that, and Manalapan and a few others. So, but right now, Donovan is trying to state their case, I think, as being the number 1 team in the Shore.
How about a freshman, Najee Calhoun, ran for 28 carries for 169 yards. A freshman. He is a good-looking kid. You know who he reminds me of? Manny Bowen. You remember Manny Bowen?
Oh, yeah.
He's the same size as him athletically. And I mean,
played at Penn State.
He is a good-looking running back, this kid, Calhoun. 28 times he gave him a football, a freshman. What is he, 14?
Yeah.
14-year-old kid.
That shows your confidence. And their quarterback, Todd Landerson, he's a junior. And the touchdown pass he threw was to a freshman, Emmanuel Jurena.
Oh, yeah, Emmanuel Jurena. Yep, a freshman too. So they're young too, but they're talented. And you're right. They're playing for the right to be, number 1, like you said last week. You did. How about Jackson Memorial coming out with a very big win? Number 11 Jackson versus 16 Howell. They were up 20-0, and finally, they stopped them in the fourth quarter. The story of that game is they made a quarterback move. Jack Gartenstein was the quarterback, big, strong, 6'4", dual threat type guy. They put him at receiver, which I think he's a dynamic receiver right there. And they put Nelms, Egan Nelms, in the game. He was 8 for 9 for 179 yards in the fourth quarter. And they scored 19 points. 19 points, but, fell short. But Jackson's tough.
But you wonder, is that the kind of change that sparks a whole season? Like, I remember a few years ago now, Freehold Borough, when they put Ashante Worthy, just lined him up at quarterback when he had been playing some running back, and he just exploded. He took over to that position, and he became this unstoppable, record-setting player in the Shore Conference. But you wonder, is that the kind of position move? Yes, this was a tough loss, but does that change things going forward? And the other thing is Jackson Memorial's own quarterback continues to play really well.
Very impressive. Very. He's impressing me because he's not just a one trick pony. He's throwing the football too. He's a dual threat. He's a legit dual threat.
255 yards in total offense, and that's a huge win in that Constitution division as a separation game. Now puts Jackson a little ahead of the pack as far as trying to lock down that division title. I think the thing with Ty Mann too is he's a multi-year starter, and he's just continued to improve. I think sometimes we want such instant gratification with players where if they're not a star, the minute you put them on the field, everybody wants somebody else in there. Rather than Ty Mann showing, he's played plenty of time now. He's taken his lumps last year in some spots, and now that experience and the work he's put in is really showing that he's gone to a guy who can control the game and be a huge playmaker who puts you over the top in a race for a championship.
Right. Who I was also impressed with this week was Luke Sheehan. Luke Sheehan from Middletown North. Now, he's a guy that when I had him on my player rankings, people were like, who is this guy? Well, he's starting for Steve Bush, who's probably one of the top play callers out there, innovative type of guy. And he was sitting behind Giacone, who was an all-short type of quarterback. He threw for 286, 3 touchdowns, 262, 3 touchdowns, and a touchdown pass at the end of the game. 121-14 on the road for Central. And I think this is the next big story. He's a junior, and there's a lot to be excited about there, right there, around Lopez and Dempsey, the big D lineman, and the tight end, Dempsey. So Middletown North kind of comes out with a big win on the road.
Yeah, and Dylan Briggs, 3 catches for 121 and a TD. They're the big tight end, like you said. Peter Dempsey, a pair of touchdowns. That was a good bounce-back win for them. I know their offense struggled against, a tough defense in their season opener. That was an important win for them to just get one under their belt and start to build some momentum against a Central team that's just really been ravaged by injuries
Definitely.
and is trying to do the best they can out there.
Yeah, and Ocean Township. I mean, Ocean Townsend's for real with Tyler Douglas, Mateo Andrews, Shane Garrett.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about instant impact. Mateo Andrews transferring from Neptune has become an immediate playmaker. I mean, what did he? He had, I believe, a 71-yard touchdown catch and returned a kickoff, 99 yards against his old team, no less.
Yeah,
so I
he's
mean,
dynamic.
Clearly, was motivated for that game.
Yeah, Tyler Douglas is just having a great start of the season.
Yeah,
he's living up to the bill.
I mean, again, I don't want to get totally into people's recruiting in the sense of, I know he's committed to Temple, but I just remember when he gets compared to Kenny Pickett, obviously, because he's a former Ocean Star quarterback, but he also had a Temple offer and played his way into a Power 5 offer with Pittsburgh by the end of the year.
Yep.
And I know the Temple guys don't want to hear that right now. They're saying we want him to come to us. But you never know if if he continues to have a big season, what other offers could potentially roll in here at his senior year.
Yeah. So I mean, their big game that they got this week, they're going to be playing Connor Dietz. Remember that name? Yeah, Connor Dietz from Brick Memorial.
Yeah, after he struggled in that season opener against Jackson Memorial with missing a few passes here or there, but he exploded against Redmond. And he's the guy. I mean, he does everything but sell the popcorn at the snack stand for Brick Memorial. I mean, he's kicking extra points. He's an impact player as a safety. He's obviously a dual threat quarterback in the backfield like these. He does it all for them. And yeah, he rebounded in a major way with a huge game against Red Bank. 429 yards. That's going to be a great matchup next week with Tyler Douglas and Connor Dietz. And oh, by the way, the other 20 other guys on the field too. But yeah. But you know who the fans are, initially coming to see, that's for sure.
I know. We got to talk about Toms River North, the number 2 ranked team in the Shore, 42-0 against a good Southern traditional defensive team. They're young. But Toms River North is not young. They're all a lot of juniors, but they just are rolling right now. They are rolling.
That was just, the machine keeps on churning out lopsided wins. It's all the stars. They come to play every time, and the mistakes that they had in the last game, they've cleaned up a little bit. That's what we said. Once they start playing penalty-free, clean football,
yes.
You got to put them up there with among the best teams in all of New Jersey.
Right. There's a team out there that's not used to being 2-0. Do you know what it is in Monmouth County? Marlboro.
You know what, though? Yeah. You say that not used to being 2-0. They were 3-0 last year.
Oh, stop it.
But you're right. In the history of their program,
yes,
there really have not been many 2-0 starts at all.
They're proving it this year.
Yeah, and you can tell this is a team that, they came up just short of a rare playoff berth for them last year, and they clearly are on a mission to just change the whole perception of Marlboro football. They're a legitimate division title threat, and they want to piece Jackson again after last year because Jackson was the team that knocked them out of the state playoffs. So they start 2-0, and they're going to be a heavy favorite this week against Freehold Borough. That's young and kind of rebuilding. So you got to like Marlboro to get off to another 3-0 start, but this time try to carry that momentum. Whereas last year, they kind of hit a rough patch a little bit. But 35-7 over Freehold Township, and again, their run game has been excellent. Matt Cassidy, their junior running back, 118 yards and a touchdown. Their senior quarterback, AJ Schwartz, another great dual threat guy. Anthony Tropiano, their linebacker, huge game on defense. They got guys, and it seems like, they're so motivated by the way last year they came so close that they're playing like they really want it.
They have a chip on their shoulder. Right. What wins championships? Defense and run game. They have that. They do.
Yeah.
Long Branch, number 10, beat Lacey 34-21. I don't know what to take of Lacey. They're very young, inexperienced, but they went up there and they kind of were battling out. But Saku Camus.
200 yards, 92-yard kickoff return. The tailback spot at Long Branch is a star-making spot. If you get that starting tailback job at that school, you're probably really, really talented because you could just go down the list of the last 15, 20, 30 years
Yep.
of one star tailback after another at Long Branch. And he's living up to that billing. I mean, a lot of responsibility comes with that. And shout out to Chad King. He got his first win as a head coach after replacing Dan George. So now he's on the board and they can move forward from that. Zaheem Brown also 131 rushing. I mean, Long Branch can run the ball. They just devastate you because they always have more than one guy. You know, yes, they have a star tailback, but usually the second guy behind that guy would be the starter on a lot of other teams.
You know who else bounced back with a big run game? Chris Scully, Colts Neck, 204 yards. Rolling. Career high 204 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, they bounced back from a tough game they had last week, but 50-13 at Colts Neck was a huge win for them and their program to get back.
How about St. John Vianney getting off to a 2-1 start? You know, they had the tough game against RBC, and people didn't really know. And you think, oh, they lost these transfers, but no, they're playing great.
Yeah, kudos.
Kyle Berry is having a great season.
They did a great job, Coach Papkin, bouncing back from. You don't know what to expect. Is RBC that good, or do we play that bad? I think we know it was more of RBC being pretty good with that too. How about Brick Township, Toms River South? Great traditional game. Brick came out. They were winning 21-0. Big game for both sides. You know, Martin came off of a first game win, but Lenny Zdanowicz with AJ Gregel, 100 yards, kind of led the way. They did real well, Brick, coming back. And one thing about Lenny is when you think they're down, they get back. They always hoover around that 500 mark and bounce up, but they'll never, ever have a season where they're 1-9 or 2-8 or something like that. So, you know, if you're a betting man, I wouldn't bet against them.
Yeah, Brick is just one of those programs. You know, they have that proud tradition where it's very rare that, you know, the bottom would fall out. You know, they're always going to be competitive year after year after year. So, yeah, it's interesting how all those traditional rivals, Toms River East, Toms River South, Brick Memorial, they're all pretty close together as far as, like, talent-wise. Like, their seasons could go one way or another. They're all pretty similar. I mean, Toms River North is a cut above all of those guys, but you know that it'll be interesting to see who emerges from that cluster of teams of having the best season among all of them.
You're going to hear our guest speaker later on today. He had another big win at Manchester, 2-0. I would call this an upset. I would, because Manchester's beating a Toms River East team on the road, 21-13.
I picked the Hawks to win, so yeah, I'll gladly bank that one because I think they're off to a really nice start. And, you know, Tommy Farrell just has added so much energy to that program. Yeah. And it certainly helps to have Josh Love.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. So we're going to find out firsthand what is the secret on why they're doing so well. At Barnegat, big local rivalry. Barnegat came out 7-6, packed stands. John Germano, the AD, does a great job every year building up the atmosphere there. And, you know, won a heated rivalry, 7-6. Pinelands did a great job stopping JoJo Bivens. Barnegat hasn't been moving the ball too well, but, you know, it's going to take one game and they'll be right back at it because they got one of the best running backs in Ocean County. And then Matawan and Jackson Liberty, Matawan came out, proved that Amir Martinez, Wellman Chromes are one of the young guys out there that are going to, you know, that can touch the ball and score at any time.
Yeah, Amir Martinez Descott is one of those guys that's popped up in the passing leaders early on here in the Shore Conference, only a sophomore for the Huskies, who are trying to get back to that traditional level that they've enjoyed as one of the Shore's better teams. So it looks like they're at least starting to come together with a good young core there. You know, I know junior Cameron Cooper had a big touchdown catch in that game. And it's funny. You want to give credit to both teams in this other game. Keyport 30, Asbury Park 22. First of all, great win for Keyport. Yeah. They're on the board. Their first victory of the year. But Asbury Park didn't even know if they're going to have a season.
No. They
have 18 players, which is, you know, barely like 6 guys standing on the bench.
Yeah.
Or, you know, 7 guys. Like, if they, and that's, you know, like, in other words, how many are like freshmen or something that you might not even want to put into a varsity game? And they still go out there and take the lead and almost beat Keyport, which is a tribute to the talent of the guys they have there and how their new head coach, Lamar Davenport, had just kept them together through all the ineligibility issues and the scare over whether are we even going to have a season.
Yeah, that's a big win for Keyport. Raleigh Stevens is a good character kid that was on my show and has been nothing but a good kid. From what I see in the program, he's going to hold the glue. He's the glue to that program. He's only a junior and a good athlete, but on and off the field, he's doing the right stuff. So he's
and
going to.
Roman Blanks, the sophomore quarterback for Keyport, stepped in and had himself a great game. Ran for 2 TDs in the fourth quarter to help them come from behind and win. And you just wonder with Asbury, when you have no depth, like when no one can come out of the game really almost on any snap, how are they going to fare in the fourth quarter of a lot of these games? I know in Group 1 football, it's not like everybody has tons of kids, but you usually have some guys you can sub in there. What is it like if you have to play almost the whole game without missing a single snap on either side of the ball?
Coach Glesman, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall watching his game plan. Like, he must have had 6 different game plans. If this kid's not playing, we're doing this. If that kid's playing, if they're all playing, if they're all not playing. I mean, but they came out with a win at Asbury Park, and the fans were juiced up. And whatever it is, 30-22, Asbury Park's going to win.
Big game for Nazir Treadwell, who we expected to have a big season. He had, 131 yards. So, yeah, that was just and then, among the other small schools, Point Beach
won.
They got their first win. They're on the board, 10-point win over Keensburg. Roman Grasso was kind of the do-it-all guy, which, again, Group 1 football, you're going to see guys making plays on both sides of the ball the whole game. 14 tackles on defense, ran for 70 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, he did a nice job. And then, one other game.
Well, I like Joe Bailey. Joe Bailey is like their cool dude that does it all. He's the quarterback and a linebacker. So that was a big win for him. And then the last game, I believe it's the last game, is Shore Lakewood.
Yeah, that was
Saturday night.
Back. I mean, Shore had that tough game against Westwood. They come back and get a lopsided 35-6 win over Lakewood, who drops to 0-2. So, yeah, that was just an important game for Shore to get their footing and just kind of flush that first game, shake it off. So they're back to their winning ways, and I'm sure they'll be a factor. And then we also don't forget there was another important divisional game in the Independence Division, and that was Raritan beating Monmouth Regional 21-13. Monmouth did not have their starting quarterback for that game, who was out with an injury, so that hurt them. But
Dan Calicari got a touch. They got I think 2 touchdowns called back, or I know one. Calicari got a touchdown called back, I think, on the first play.
And Kieran Falzone, the senior running back for Raritan, had another huge game. I think he's a guy you're going to see among the rushing leaders all season.
Yeah.
But more impressively, I mean, yes, I know Monmouth did not have the full complement of their offense, but Raritan held them to 13 points 1 week after they put 38 up. So tribute to the Raritan defense, which is, coming around, and I think that's a good confidence booster for them because they're looking to be that dark horse team to challenge, to maybe step up and really challenge Point Borough. Granted, you're going to have to be Manasquan, you're going to be some other good teams before you can make that leap in that division to being the number 1 contender. But Raritan could be that dark horse team that tries to rise up and shock Point Borough, which is the clear favorite now in that division race after having beaten Manasquan.
I love it. Week 2, you're starting to see the identity of certain teams. Week 3 is really going to reveal what the team's all about.
Yeah, and you start to see the changing priorities where a tough loss means, you know what? Maybe it's time to just prepare for the state playoffs. We're probably not going to get that division.
Right.
So let's focus on building up for the postseason. And then the other teams that are like, whoa, we're now in the driver's seat, or we're going to set up this huge matchup. This is also when you start to see trap games developing because a team thinks, it's going to be us and this other team for a division championship, but they're not playing that game for 3 weeks. And in between that, you could get caught.